are you doing? It is Monday night, so you know what that is. It is the Physicist and Philosopher Hour. I am the philosopher, Mr. Steiger, R. Wayne Steiger. That is the physicist, Dr. Claudia
Hello.
Albers. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you, Wayne.
Oh, it's so good to
And
see
you
you.
are well too, aren't you?
I am doing very well. Yes,
Good.
absolutely. Did you have a good New Year's?
To tell you the truth, I think so. I don't actually remember. Um, yeah, it would to me it was just like another day.
I mean, well, it technically is just another day. You
Yeah.
know, I say that we should stop counting the years and
Mhm.
start counting the days.
Good
Because,
idea.
yeah, I'm 23,000, 100 and something days on this planet.
Wow, that long. And,
See?
and it went by very quickly, didn't it?
I could sing a song like this.
Yeah,
Memory.
the thing is, time seems to be going by very quickly nowadays. I mean, you think, oh, it's Sunday, and then the next thing, it seems to be Friday.
I just read this article. By the way, let me just say hello to everyone in the chat room, everyone watching. Thank you. All of the moderators, Kaz, Brian. Brian over at Milky Way Weekly has his show right after ours. Queen of Courts, Karen, how are you doing? So thank you all for being here. And I just invoke favor on everyone this evening. So getting back to that, about time. Um, it's really becoming more and more aware, apparently, in the physics world, is that time is truly subjective to the observer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for instance, you could have 10 people in a room, and let's say that, Claudia, you're giving a presentation, and three of those 10 people are absolutely enraptured by what you're saying. They are totally focused in. Time is no longer relevant to them.
Mm.
Where if you have the students who are just messing around, a lecture could be, 40 minutes, but for them, it's be 4 hours.
Yeah, well, that's true that if you are interested, time seems to go by faster. However, over the years, I have noticed that the time when I am really interested um, seems to go faster more recently than it did then. And the time when I was really bored and it seemed to go very slowly, it's still going faster now than it did then.
That's an interesting, I like that. Even boredom is going by faster.
Yes.
Makes you think about, I contend, Claudia, that our existence is merely because we're all tuned in to a certain frequency, and that frequency vibrates at a certain time, rhythm. And if we were just even a millisecond out of phase of that rhythm, we wouldn't be here.
Mm,
We would be out of phase with everything else around us.
yeah, I suppose. Well, sometimes you can seem to be out of phase. That's the days when you feel like you're out of sorts. You got
Mm-hmm.
up on the wrong side of the bed.
Mm-hmm. And the person goes, but I get up on the same side all the time. Well, try the other side, damn it. So, but it's so true, though. Think about it. So, I was in my meditation today because I think about these things. It tells me that when we talk about the multiverse, which is becoming now very much a thing of physics, physicists are looking at the multiverse, is the fact that I can see it happening. I mean, if you can shift time, vibration to living sources that are tuned in to that frequency, well, my goodness, theoretically, you could have an unlimited amount of potential other universes.
Mm. Yeah, well, I wrote that article about the Stargate, so I thought about that a little bit.
Speaking, yes, well, let's talk about that because while you're talking about that, I'll pull that up. I have Mr. MBB's channel up, and I know you did a paper, and if you want to pull up that paper and have this, what did you think about this?
Well, it's very interesting. It definitely looks like a Stargate. And, most people have been introduced to Stargate via the Stargate television show.
By the way,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, Stargate Atlantis.
Well, actually, no, this is the SG1.
Oh, that's SG1. Okay.
And I have all the I have all the episodes.
You do, hey?
I do. It's I really
yeah, I watched it many years ago. I haven't watched it in a long time, but I did watch it and I enjoyed it.
I did too. So there it is.
Yeah, there it is. And well, when I looked at it, I thought, yeah, it looks just like a Stargate and doesn't seem to be operating. It does seem to be in the clouds. There seem to be clouds in front of it and clouds behind it. And it looks just like one of those. You can see symbols on the side. Yeah, there's one. And that would be the codes for, dialing where you want to go. And so it looked like one. And I think they are real. I think for thousands of years, they actually have found that ancient cultures were actually knew about them because of what they left in their monuments and so on. And they seem to be real. And the idea of moving from one place to another that may be quite far apart instantaneously is definitely possible because we know about wormholes. And basically, a Stargate is an artificial wormhole. And a wormhole is basically a path from one point in this universe to another point.
Now you have a paper, right?
Yeah. Do you want me to?
Yeah, I'm going to stop share on this. And thank you, Mr. MB333. Everyone, please go over and check his channel out because this is spectacular. That's all I have to say. So yeah, go ahead and I'll let you take it over on well, thank you, Brandon. Here's to my team. We're his two favorite people. Well, thank you. I'm glad that we got at least one, Claudia, that's out there who likes us.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so this is the article. And I started with the picture and I said, yeah, it looks like a real Stargate. And these are from the TV series. You can see, it has the surface. It looks like water when it's operating. And so it's connecting to somewhere else in the universe. And there's another one, looks very similar to this one here. Mm-hmm. It does even seem to have this kind of slider there, which would be a dialing point. And you can see these symbols on it. I'm not sure what this is. It looks like kind of feathery, this material here on that side, but I'm not sure.
MBC, he said that when he blew it up, that the clouds are actually reacting to whatever that is.
Mm.
Now, by the way, did you see the face in this?
Yeah, I noticed there's an
right there.
face there.
There it is.
Yeah, I didn't really say anything about that, but I did notice. So these are the diagrams that show basically what wormholes are, and it's actually pathways from one point in our universe to another point in our universe. But the hole is not through our universe. It's through another universe in which our universe is immersed. So it's a higher dimensional universe. And so it's like a substrate that our universe is embedded into another higher dimensional universe. And this is why it's possible. You have actually to exit this universe and go along a path along the other universe to another point in ours. So it's basically a shortcut through the substrate universe. And here you see this plane here, which is 2-dimensional, that actually represents 3 dimensions. Well, 3 spatial dimensions. I'll go back to the one that it's actually 4 dimensions, because our universe is space-time. It's 3 spatial dimensions and 1 time dimension. And here it shows that the material is made out of our universe material, but I don't think that is how it would work. I think that the moment you enter the wormhole, you would be within the material that the other universe is made of. And then when you exit on the other side, then you get back into our universe.
You know,
But
Claudia, how I see that?
Yeah.
It's like if you figure that you had a city block and you were starting out your front door, and in order to get around that, you were going to have to round the entire block, where I said, I'll see you back here. But what I did, I cut through my neighbor's house, his backyard, and then his neighbor behind him, and I meet you as you're coming around.
Yes, that's right.
See?
Yeah, because going from this point to that point in our universe means you have to go all the way around this way.
Yeah.
And this way you go through a shortcut.
Cut through the neighbor's house.
Yes, that's right.
Because that's not made of my stuff.
Yeah, but the thing is, we have to actually exit our universe to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
So now the other thing is, our universe is not actually 3-dimensional, it's 4-dimensional because of the additional dimension of time. So any point is actually 3 spatial coordinates and 1 time point, which means that if you go through a wormhole or if you have a Stargate, basically you can travel in time, forwards and backwards. So you can choose a point with spatial dimensions and a time as well. Because that's the nature of our universe. So that means, you know, in the Stargate series, they use 6 coordinates.
+1, +7.
Yeah.
That's your home base.
Yes, but you actually would need, I mean, they use 6 for the space, but I would think they would actually need to use 8 because they need the time coordinate as well. And then that allows you to travel backwards and forwards in time too.
Actually, you know, I forget what they called the Greys. I'll think of them in a second. Their Stargate did have 8 coordinates because they traveled in a different spatial dimension. So I think you are, yes. So makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, and then I discussed a little bit because people will wonder, well, are Stargates real? You know, do they actually exist? And to me, I think that we don't just think of things. We would never think of a Stargate if there wasn't someone that actually put the idea in our heads, because they actually exist. Either they exist now or they existed in the past. But they most likely have been in existence for a very long time. That's why it's in our ancient history and so on. The technology, you know, it is outside what we could possibly do. As I say, in order to construct a Stargate, you need to understand how to move through the universe in which our universe is embedded. And we only know about our universe. So it's very difficult for a human being to do that. So obviously it's alien technology.
It's amazing as you're talking, Dr. Albers. This is a CIA document. It's called the Blue Planet Project. And as you were talking, that's exactly what's in this document. It says, the multiverse, and this is how they discovered it through actually it was the aliens who told us. The multiverse, it surrounds you completely at this very moment, but at the same time, They said it's like you being in an atom. If you could be living on an atom, the next atom next to you would be a galaxy away.
Mm.
But for us, we don't even pay attention to it because we're immersed inside this galaxy. And this is what they said. The planet Earth is covered with windows, corridors, tunnels, i.e., or gates. In those other unseen worlds, we have the instruments to detect them. And if we decide to use them, we would find that these windows are the focal point for super high frequency waves, the rays of the ancient lore. These rays might come from Orion, the Pleiades system, as the Terrans ancients claimed, or they might be part of the great forces that emanate throughout the universe, probably, perhaps, from the Antares star system.
Mm. That's
so
interesting.
You were spot on.
Thanks.
It's what your paper what you just wrote. It's what
that's I thought about it a little bit. And so I did say that, I think they definitely exist. I don't necessarily think that this one that we saw was actually there. I think it might have been a projection because, first of all, it was right next to the sun. Now, you don't expect in the sky, which we know is a simulator. So obviously, they wanted people to notice it, And it's not a good place to put a Stargate. I mean, it might have uncloaked maybe, but the fact that it's next to the sun would suggest to me that they actually wanted people to see it. So it doesn't mean that they don't exist. I really think they do. But a Stargate should really be on the surface of the Earth or in orbit outside the atmosphere of a planet, not in the sky within the atmosphere of a planet, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also what they showed us in the television shows. They had these large ones. I think I have a picture of a large one here. Yeah, one of these large ones that are designed for spaceships to go through. And they usually, outside the atmosphere of a planet like this.
Correct.
And you can see this one has engines on it. So it's obviously designed to be maneuvered in that environment. And, I just wrote a little bit about why they would want us to see a Stargate up in the sky. And I've noticed that lately there are a lot of television shows about disclosure about aliens. So I would say that the powers that be are interested in the public knowing about them. They possibly want to use the idea of aliens to, do something that they want to do, or it's possible. And I believe that our government is actually under the control of aliens that are, in the shadows, pulling the strings, and they maybe want to come out into the open.
Well, I have a little different theory, but it's similar because I contend that they have already made full disclosure, and how the United States government has done this is that if you look at the genre of flying saucers, aliens, that began in earnest in about 1951. We had Buck Rogers that was in the 30s, but starting about the mid 50s and really going strong in the 59, 60, 61, we have this inundation of movies coming out of Hollywood of flying saucers, aliens parading around like humans. And then we get the interesting thing by very brilliant directors, such as i.e. Steven Spielberg, that suddenly have these ideas on technology, aliens, spacecrafts, et cetera, et cetera. And what I contend, Claudia, is that they were given material by our government.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. It's always possible as well that the aliens themselves speak to them.
Oh, I
In
have
their
no doubt of
dreams,
that.
through their subconscious mind. I'm sure there's lots of that going on. And I do believe that at this time that these aliens want to take control of the planet and create on the planet a golden age, a millennium, which will be fake because they will keep the creator out of it. And they will then get to do what they wanted to do at the Tower of Babel. And they're finally going to get the chance. But of course, we know that the result will be disastrous. That basically what they want is to take away our human beings' free will. And I don't think they're any good for us. They have any good intentions. I don't think they have any. I don't trust them. I think they are liars. If they tell us anything that is a little bit of truth, it's only to get us to believe in a bigger lie.
Well, there we go. And
that's what I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
I know they exist, and I know they have good technology, but I don't think they have good intentions regarding us human beings.
I was reading a document that actually accompanies this, and oddly enough, there was actually a program. So apparently, they've identified 57 other intergalactic species, and where I look at theology as a philosopher, I have to remind people that there's a huge universe, and the Earth is just not even the tip of a pin of a needle in the grand scheme of things. And I think in many cases, we have been a regressed species. And I think that we are still a regressed species. I buy into the fact that I think that Earth is a prison planet. I also happen
I agree with that, Wayne. I believe that we have been taken prisoner. We've been taken advantage of. We've been used like batteries, and they don't tell us the truth. That's why all the physics, all the history is all wrong. They just given us lies. And the thing is, if the universe is so large and there are so many planets with life on them, why can they not just go there and leave us alone? Why are they fighting over that little planet Mars as if there are no other planets in the whole of the universe or even this galaxy? That's the questions that it should be asked. The thing is, they are interested in this planet as if they had nowhere else to go.
Well, and I'll add to that I happen to think that for many of us, I don't believe that this is where we originated from. It's impossible if you look at this from one, merely from a paleontology point of view. Our species, the the overwhelming diversity of not only the races, but the quagmire is what I'll use it, of different beliefs. There are over, I think, if you look at the major religions, that's 5, and then you have about another dozen sub-religions. And then again, and this begins to divide us as a species, because then you get people in different camps. Well, my God is more superior to your God, and that never accomplishes anything. And then you look at, again, the cultural differences in boundaries, territories. It clearly shows that I don't think that most of the people originated here, is what I'm trying to say. I think we bring with us a multicultural, intergalactic representation of what the galactic universe looks like.
Well, I think we have bodies that are from this planet. Our bodies are. I think we, though, are spiritual beings, and we may be inhabiting this body as if it was an avatar. In other words, it's a body with intelligence and with a spirit in it already. And then we come in as a separate person into it, like an avatar.
Yes.
So we may then, I think we come from somewhere else.
Well, that's, it's very interesting, Claudia, because I'm writing a book right now. And the book is dealing with, I asked this question here. How do we define spirit? And I ask these questions, and in fact, I'm writing this part right now. It says, is the spirit eternal? Does the spirit have a beginning? Can it be destroyed? Is the spirit immortal? Does the spirit have an end? Does the spirit have unilateral free will? And it goes on from there. So I happen to agree with you. I think that these are the mysteries that yet science has not confronted, that eventual for us to make that next leap in science, it will have to deal with the spirituality factor. And Einstein didn't want to deal with that.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that, sometimes, we don't really want to go there.
Oh, no, we don't want to go there.
But, it just, I can never leave a mystery alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I have thought about all this, and I deduced it from what I saw. For me, I study the Bible, and I know that the Nephilim were the children of these immortal beings. Basically, the angels that came down were immortal beings, spirit beings.
Yep.
And
I'm following your hand. I feel
and
like a Pac-Man here.
So maybe I should just get out of this.
Yeah. Let's see.
How do I get out of this? Oh, stop share. There we go.
Okay.
So I thought, well, these beings are born with spirits, but they're no human beings inside them. In other words, they don't have a human part. They're not human beings, but they still have a spirit.
Yes.
So then I realized that we human beings, we live inside a body, but there are two voices in our head. So there are two spirits in there. So we like in the Matrix, where you go into the Matrix, this is more than that. It's just like we go into a three-dimensional body for this universe. It's like we going into a game, into an avatar. That's our bodies.
By the way, this is from one of our subscribers. This is Jody from Colorado. And this is she catches.
What is that?
That is an actual, well, whatever you want to call it. It comes right out of the cloud. Again, I think I got this theory that I've been working on. I think that there is, I believe, Claudia, that I just wanted to share this with everyone.
It's circular.
Yes, it is. And you can see how it comes right out of.
Yeah, it looks artificial. It doesn't look like a natural thing.
Nope.
So it's a device. It's a UFO.
Yeah, and Colorado, I don't know what's happening to us out here, Claudia. We seem to be, I'm catching them rather frequently. So I don't know. But Claudia, have you ever thought about that when we were in the atomic age of testing? We detonated approximately, I believe there was some 52 in the atmosphere and over 2,000 plus underground. And I've been reading more and more that a lot of these were the CIA documents that had to be released under the Freedom of Information Act. Many heavily redacted, but apparently whatever the net was that was over us, and I contend, I happen to think that there was, I don't know what kind of force field it was, but I think it repressed our species. I contend on my whiteboard behind me, as you can see in my office here, one of the questions I have on my whiteboard is, why have we not progressed in the last 5,000 years more with our mental telepathy skills? Speaking and writing is very crude. It's easily misrepresented, easily misinterpreted, and easily misconstrued.
Yes. The problem with the telepathic powers is that they would be abused.
I think
very badly. Because when you have the ability to read other people's minds and your intentions are never good regarding other people, and no one's on this planet is ever good all the time, then it's just not right. It's just not right.
I don't know about that. If everyone had the skill, you would no longer have the barrier of languages.
Yes, I have a real problem with telepathic powers, because when I was a child, I could almost read people's minds. Mm-hmm. I could feel what they were feeling, and I didn't like it.
It's called being an empath.
Horrible. I asked God to remove it. I don't want things like that. It's not nice to know what other people are thinking and feeling, because there's so much pain in everybody.
Well, of course there is.
This planet is designed to cause pain. And it's enough to have to cope with your own. When you have to cope with other people's pain, it's too much.
Well, there's a lot of people on my channel that are empaths. And we know exactly that feeling. And it is I contend it's a natural part of our ability, that this is part of being a spiritual being.
Possibly.
Claudia, if you're a spiritual being, and this is how I define it, if you're I guess if the spirit is eternal, then that means the spirit is immortal. And
yes,
that means
it definitely is. Yeah.
Okay. So that means that the spirit would have abilities that would far transcend that of the physical realm. Growing up, my aunts, my grandmother, other people I've known, they would call it premonitions. You had that feeling. You knew something wasn't right. A single woman walks into an establishment and she immediately senses that there is something not right here. I think that those are abilities, and I contend this: if everyone had the ability to read everyone else's mind, you see, I don't think that you could hide intent. I think it would be exposed immediately for what that person was. It's just, it's just two sides of a debate.
Yeah, I know. I know a little bit about that. I think it's very dangerous kind of thing. I stay away from that, from trying to develop my mind that way. Let's put it that way.
I can understand that. Well, so some recent discoveries this week, I thought that we might pull these up, is what NASA showed us on Jupiter with our little tiny moon up there. Let me see, which one is that? There it is. So look at that little puppy. And check this out, Claudia. This is Io.
Looks strange.
These are all volcanic eruptions. That moon is hot. I thought I would show that to you. This was just released today, and look at this. It's quite amazing when you begin to see how volcanic this little moon is. So there you go. I think, as you said, the solar system is changing. I find this one interesting. This is going to be the blood moon that's coming up on the 20th. By the way, Claudia, do you know only in America will this be seen?
Really?
Will
Only?
not be, it will not be seen anywhere else.
That's interesting.
It is also on the exact same date of the inauguration of President Trump.
Oh.
If you find any merit in that kind of thing. But
Mhm.
also, this will be, again, one of the largest supermoons. The moon is actually closer to the Earth right now. So we're going to see quite a spectacular sight on the 21st. It'll be at midnight your time when this starts to transcend. In fact, I think this one actually will show you about midnight here. 12:12 is when it's full on your end. Numbers,
Wow.
just everything.
That's
This is
amazing.
this is the Magellanic Cloud that
Mhm.
is, they say that, I find it odd that they said today when I read this article, in 2 billion years, this is heading for us. We're going to hit it head on. And they said our solar system may stand to be, well, moved across the universe, as they said. And I went, well, that's a bad day.
2 billion years, huh?
Yeah,
Hmm. I don't think
uh,
we need to worry about it
I
then.
don't think so.
Hmm.
Although if we're eternal, maybe we'll be watching. So all around the world, we saw a decrease in UFOs for the last, I think, 2 or 3 years, and now, Claudia, they're everywhere.
Yes, they are. I've noticed that. I mean, I cannot seem to go by one day without it appearing somewhere on TV or this, or seeing a YouTube that's about this, a YouTube video, just everywhere.
Everywhere,
Mm.
everywhere. This is that large Magellanic, there we go, I was correct, cloud.
Mm.
So I never realized how bad this was, but apparently NASA, um, did you know, by the way, that they're testing now? You see, this is why I think that disclosure is being dripped to us, that now they're crashing spacecraft in there to see if we can actually move asteroids.
Yeah, but they have plasma weapons that can just break them apart. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's they we know they have them.
Well,
So
I'm
why
just
would
telling
they
you,
even crash into them when they have plasma weapons that can do it? I mean, they obviously lying.
so um, the Chinese, some I contend China is on a mission that I have never seen before, and it's taking on proportions, Claudia, that when the world wakes up to it, may be too late. This one here is 13 years in the making. It's called Project WIM, and it will be able to communicate with submarines under the water all over the world. And this net, this is how big it is. They have this one here in the far western parts of China. Claudia, these are as big as states.
Yeah, well, I think it's quite obvious that the New World Order has decided that China will be the next superpower. That's why they landing on the far side of the moon. They taking over from NASA, and not necessarily that they're doing anything in a truthful way. They're basically doing the same thing that NASA did, fooling the public. But it's obvious that the powers that be have decided that the power must shift from the United States and the Western nations to China. That's why they moved all the manufacturing to China first, years ago.
Well, I was in the finance industry for many years, and um, I don't talk on these things, but this thing is a little concerning. I have to say, quite frankly, this is just one of the many stories. So, how about this one? Um, nope, I didn't want that one. Oh, by the way, what did you think of our friend here, Ultima Thule? Are,
Oh,
yeah, I mean, is this what you expected to be a,
oh.
I'm going, well, why is it that we're seeing all of these
This is
asteroids?
ridiculous, Wayne. I mean, they're getting to the point. NASA is, I mean, their disclosure is getting worse and worse and worse because that's obviously fake.
This is what they said the live satellite showed. And
Yes, right.
well,
Well, we do know. I mean, I've talked about this for a very long time. First of all, the sun is not emitting enough light for any of these objects to be seen in visible light. If anything, they would be seen in infrared. But this is a small object. How are you even going to image an object like this in infrared? It's very small. It's very, very cool. This is obviously not real. This is not real. They are telling us more and more ridiculous lies. That's what it's all about.
well, I'm just saying, this was the new horizon. This is what all
Yeah,
the media was
right.
about. So there is ultimate Thule, and
He
again,
looks like a snowman.
and we're finding more and more of these asteroids that are passing through that look exactly like this. And
Well, we definitely should have more and more asteroids because we have the Planet X system objects coming in with huge amounts of debris. So all these pieces of rock, and these ones are almost spherical too, but they will have irregular shapes because they were the outer layers of what was once planets. And these planets have broken apart, and that's where this debris comes from. And these objects come in, they orbit the sun or they orbit the earth, depending on their size. The large ones will go to the sun, the small ones will come to the earth, and they bring their debris field. And they come in, they stay around the earth for a while, they do a very tight orbit, either around the earth or around the sun, and then they go into a long elongated orbit, they come back, they do another couple of loops around the sun, they go back into the long orbit, but each time they bring their debris field with them until they get to the point where they re-energized. In other words, they gather enough material to create their own outer negative layer, at which point they never again can enter the Earth's atmosphere or the sun's atmosphere, the corona, and they go into orbit. And I found out that these objects, the ones that go to the sun, become gas giant planets. That's what Jupiter is. Jupiter most likely has a very large solid surface that's just beneath those clouds, but it's very low in gravitational energy, so it seems to be a lot less dense than what it is. And
well,
and the moon is one of these. Our moon is one of these objects as well, and it goes through the same process, and then it goes into orbit. But the debris stays around. What happens to the debris? I think now the asteroid belt came from the debris of these objects. Saturn's debris field, I haven't written about that yet, but that was Saturn's own debris field. Oh, that's what's left of it. It probably left a lot of it in the sun's atmosphere. And over time, it would get absorbed into the sun's chromosphere eventually, but it slowly absorbs energy, it absorbs electrons, and that's what destroyed the sun's corona. It was the debris, because the debris exchanges electrons with the sun's atmosphere, and that means that the sun gets lower and lower energy electrons. So the effect would be that the corona would shrink as the electrons only get up to low altitude. So the corona would shrink. That's exactly what we've observed. The corona shrinking. And the coronal holes, it's when a large amount of debris suddenly comes into the sun's atmosphere. It absorbs a whole lot of electrons, so that area goes dark. It looks like the corona has disappeared there. That's all to do with the debris that comes in. And the debris is covered in water clouds. That's what water clouds are. They are little droplets of water, and they stay like that even in space because they're low in energy. And so they lose cohesion and they cannot freeze. they stay as a tiny liquid droplets of water. So our clouds come from the Planet X system. It was the water that was on those planets in the beginning. But sorry, you wanted to.
No. I mean, I'm like with the audience, I'm just listening as you begin to talk on this.
So I've found a lot of answers. Everything is making sense to me now. What is actually happening? How these objects have been coming in for thousands of years, have been leaving their debris. It's the debris that actually caused the sun to stop emitting light. And we saw it happening as the corona shrank over the years, and as the coronal holes got larger and larger, and it's all to do with the debris. And how the moon is a Planet X object that was re-energized, but it still has a dead core. They remain with a dead core. They just have enough material to now have an outer layer of electrons. And that means they cannot go inside the atmosphere anymore. Now the two outer layers repel each other. And it's like a proton. A proton by itself can't go inside an atom, but when it has an electron orbiting around it, it cannot.
Interesting.
It's fascinating.
It is. So apparently there has been, in fact, I've made videos on this over the years. The far side of the moon doesn't look anything like the one that we see, but what's more importantly, it looks like China is up there taking the first step in beginning to, I think, look at the feasibility of manufacturing helium-3, which is now proven to be, this is the new fuel that will actually, as I've been reading, is going to make it potentially possible for when we begin to look at intergalactic travel. So it's a question. Now,
well, I thought thorium was better.
Well, I just, I don't know about that. I was just reading what they're speculating, what they're doing up there. Now, I do know that they brought also plant samples, and they also brought seeds up there. I guess the question really becomes, what is China doing? By the way, I don't know if you've seen this, but this is not one thing I wanted to see. This is the new hypersonic weapon. This is a gun, as you can see here. This is the first time we've actually seen it. We've been speculating. This railgun is a type of weapon that uses a powerful electromagnetic to accelerate projectiles at a very high speed. It's heading to Taiwan. And this is, I think, for me, Claudia, is a new day in when we start looking at weaponry that's now beginning to use such things as plasma pulse, electromagnetic projectiles. This is becoming a game changer to me.
Yeah, the thing is, the US has had these weapons since, I don't know, the 1960s, 1970s. But it probably was part of the secret programs, but they've had them. The thing is, the fact that China has this whole thing with the war is a farce. Why they even want to have a war with nuclear weapons is crazy, because they have weapons that are much more powerful, but not as damaging to the planet. But yet they don't want to use their reverse engineered alien technology. They want to use conventional weapons. And you know why? Because this is all a farce. It's like a theater for the people of the world. They want them to understand, look, we're going to have a war. In the meantime, they're working with each other. And all they want to do is reduce the population.
Well, I hope it is this that way. I see it a little differently, and only because of my former political background. I see this as, in fact, we know that China is on a very, very aggressive path of number one, their general was quoted to saying right during the holidays, the best thing that we could do to weaken our enemy is sinking two of their aircraft carriers. They were speaking of us. And so I see them as a little bit more aggressive, I guess. I think they're on a world domination course. So
yes, but the US seems almost desperate to start a war with them. I mean, if you didn't want to start a war, why do you even need to go to the South China Sea and, sail across there? And in the meantime, you're having talks about trade? That is crazy. It's
welcome to
like
the
they
world of
want a
politics.
war.
Oh, well, listen, the Rothschilds do very well. I mean, whether you're the victor or the loser, someone's going to make money selling those weapons.
Yeah.
Lots of money. This is in from a viewer. These are ionospheric heaters. This one here is a 1 to 2 gigawatt atmospheric heater, as you can see. They just went online with a 5 million gigawatt.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
And there is the latest one.
Yeah. What they do with these things, this type of technology, is they control the Planet X objects. With pulses of this energy, they can control where these objects go. So when we are told, oh, we can control the weather, immediately flow into equalize the density and the pressure. So a Planet X system is the source of low pressure systems. And the cyclonic circulation is due to gravitational vortices, water vortices, because their cloud envelopes are made of water.
Well, it tells me that these are the breadcrumbs that they know something's up.
Oh, they know. I mean, they've been hiding this information from the population of this planet for a long time, for thousands of years. In fact, just about all the science and all the history that we are given are lies in order to cover up this truth.
Well, I believe, Claudia, that it's coming to pass. I think that so much of what they've tried to cover up is now becoming too obvious. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see how they spin it. They're going to spin it. And I don't know. I'll try to remain positive, but boy, I tell you what, it
doesn't look good, does it?
Yeah, it's like the rat said, forget the cheese, just get me out of the trap. I don't want the cheese. Mm-hmm. It doesn't happen. So we got a whole lot of going on here, Claudia. It's just, I look at the headlines, and I have friends back in Washington, and it's crazy. And, it's almost like you don't want to even touch it because it's going to get on your hands, and you, I don't know.
Yeah, it's you want to think of something else rather.
Well, another hour's come and gone. So what do you have going on this week? Well, how's your channel doing, by the way?
Yeah, it's okay, I suppose. Okay. I haven't been writing as many articles as I'd like to. I like to write 3 a day, and I haven't been managing to do that because I've been doing articles that take a lot more thought. Mm-hmm. So it takes me longer, but hopefully I have now answered all the questions that I had. So I started all this because I wanted to understand what was going on in the solar system. And then I found these objects, and then I wanted to know what these objects were. And now I've answered most of those questions. And once I've answered those questions, then I can apply what I've learned to the observation. I just enjoy writing articles about images. And Scott has sent me a whole lot of images. And I know he sent them to you as well.
Yeah.
And, yes. And I just enjoy writing these articles, and it should go a lot faster now.
Well,
I also enjoy writing short articles, but sometimes I just cannot help it. They get so long.
right. In fact, I have one of the article pictures that's got sent here. So I guess this is on the 24th.
Yes.
There's
As you
our
can
friend
see,
again.
yeah, there's a clearly, absolutely perfectly spherical object right there. It is inverted, so the object in the real photograph would have looked bright instead of black. But you can see it's clearly a spherical object. And as you can see, it's within CME material because these objects induce the CMEs. And I explained how they induce their CMEs because they're low in gravitational energy and gravitational field, but they have a high electric field. And when they go very close to a living celestial object, that electric field also affects the core. It overlaps that object's own electric field, positive electric field. And when that electric field gets so strong, the core reacts by creating matter. It explodes with new matter. And this matter comes out as fluid. It's plasma. It's basically magma. And that's what CMEs are. That's what volcanic eruptions are. That's how they cause volcanic eruptions in CMEs. So you actually see the CME connecting to the object there because that object caused it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that material attaches to the object. So it increases its energy through that material. And this is a photograph from Thailand. As you can see, it's at night, but the sky looks red. And the reason why the sky looks red is because we have what's clouds in the sky that are luminescent. And of course, these are part of the Planet X debris field that's coming into our atmosphere more and more. That's why we're seeing red and red skies like this more and more. These are clouds that are actually emitting light, and they're emitting light because of electron exchange. They're absorbing electrons from the Earth's atmosphere. As the electrons settle in the molecules of these water molecules, they release excess energy because they have to go into an energy level, so they have to have a specific energy. So they release, the excess. And the excess then comes out as a photon, and we detected this light, and in this case, red light.
And I'm getting pictures of green, I'm getting pictures of magenta, getting pictures of purple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the atmosphere is really, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why we're getting more and more volcanic eruptions as well, because the larger ones, the ones that have a core that's possibly close to the size of the Earth's core, will cause matter creation events in the Earth's core, and then we're going to get the volcanic eruptions or an earthquake. If there's no way all the way to the surface, the magma goes up as far as possible, causes an explosion, and we would feel it as an earthquake. But it's the same mechanism.
Well, I hope it waits until after next week when we do our show next week. Well, Claudia, it's been great. Thank you again. Give my best to Scott. Tell him thank you for the photos.
Yeah.
People look at those and I think so often they just don't want to comprehend. They don't want to accept it. So,
yes, the human mind is like that. Sometimes it takes time for us to accept things that are beyond anything we could imagine.
I agree. Okay, well, I'm going to go out and watch the football game.
Okay, enjoy it. And my best to Lynn.
Thank you. She is out there watching herself. And I just want to say thank you to everyone in the chat room. Thank you for everyone watching. Claudia and I appreciate the fact that you spend your time with us. We know you have a lot of other options, and we hope that it's not only entertaining, but it's also educational. And
I love it. And I really enjoy this show, Wayne. I really do. Thank you.
It's groovy.
Yes.
It is. And the people love it. And Thank you, Suji. So, folks, go over there to Brian over at Milky Way Weekly. He's going to be doing his show, I think, in about 6 minutes. And I'll be on his show, by the way, Wednesday night. So, Claudia, how about yourself? Are you going to be on any interviews or any shows?
No, I don't think so. I'm just
Okay.
going to write.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You're always writing.
Yeah.
Well, I always look over there because you always have some good things. Claudia, I thank you so much. You're
Thank
a
you,
great
Ryan.
teacher. I love your mind. And although, as I tell people, you and I may not always agree theologically together, we are good, very good friends. And
Mm,
we just, and that's how the world goes.
yeah,
I often say iron sharpens iron, is what I believe
yeah,
Proverbs says.
that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some guy named Solomon had
Yes.
700 wives. What kind of man has 700 wives? Anyway, I digress.
Yeah, I mean, it was just asking for trouble.
No kidding. It's like just Claudia, I'll see you later, my dear.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Claudia. Bye-bye.
Bye.